Hello, everyone. My name is Sandy Glaze. I am a personal transformation and self-development coach. I specialize in the areas of spiritual and emotional energies. I do that because I am of the belief that everything happens in the etheric and the unseen energies before it manifests in the physical world. And I want to talk today about the Great Awakening that's happening around us. This is June 11th, I think, in 2020. We're in the middle of the insanity of the year 2020, and I want to talk about how people can find their way and find their own footing to be able to make decisions that are good for them, because what is happening quite often, we're being encouraged to make choices for ourselves that are not in our best interest. And what is coming up quite a bit for me with the people that I work with and I'm talking to, quite often they realize there's like a subtle energy or a force trying to get them to demean themselves or demoralize themselves or to do things that aren't in their best interest. And they're starting to realize the pattern there. But what they haven't realized is that is the role of dark energies. Dark energies are here to try to make you betray yourself. We realize we're trying to go into an era that we come from our heart. And the heart is in the middle of our chakras, the visible spectrum of light, the 7 colors. The green is the heart chakra. And we're trying to come from our heart, but if we keep making choices that trip ourselves up, we end up betraying ourselves. That causes so much heartache and so much grief that it makes it hard for people to open their heart when they're working and communicating and in relationship with other people. So I want to share what the morality is here for us to do. We are meant to be proud of ourselves. And I don't mean pride in the upside down flag. That's just a word that was hijacked, the pride parades. You know, all humans have a right to be proud without somebody telling them what it is they need to be proud for. You can decide for yourself. And since that movement is an attack on sexuality, I could probably tell you how important our sexuality is and why people have less integritous intentions want you to throw off your sexuality. So I'm going to start talking about morality. When you have a structure of morality around you, that's the beginning and the foundation of a strong spiritual house. It lets you see the natural laws. It lets you see, whether you go by something like the 10 Commandments, that there's things that you believe in that don't cause harm to anybody else. But it also allows you to align with your highest truth of decency, kindness, respect, not doing things that make you feel shame-based. So it's really important that we understand how our morality impacts us. And because what happens as we're thinking about things we're going to do, the thoughts happen in our minds before we manifest them in the physical. Whoever controls the mind controls the soul. And when we realize all the different ways that we're being manipulated, we can stand up and say, no, I'm not buying this anymore. And the biggest one that I'm going to say is the media. And when we look at what's happening, I'm going to say in the Western society, English is predominantly the language. There's a lot of spells being cast within the English language that people aren't seeing, that somebody else's ill intention is having an effect on their lives. Whether they plan for it or not is irrelevant. If you do not understand how to command your own energy, you are now susceptible to their energy and whatever they're sending to you, because their energy is stronger than yours. And when we learn how to manage our energy fields and maintain our own energy structure, we can keep that darkness out. And the one I want to talk about for spelling, broadcasting. They are broadcasting what they want you to know. And when I look at the riots that have happened in the last couple of weeks and the absolute insanity and the destruction and the senseless suffering, this is intentional. It's not that this is by accident. So who can trigger somebody just like that and say, ooh, white on black crime, or whatever color it doesn't matter. But then all of a sudden everybody loses their mind and starts rioting. This is planned. We all have a choice on whether we fall for this or we don't fall for this. And what I'm finding, I'm starting to wonder if people are being programmed through their own electronic equipment to act in a certain way and don't even understand that this is what's happening. So when you ground yourself in strong moral substance, you give yourself the strength that those energies, those forces trying to throw you off, they don't have as much power over you. So how do you know if you are aligned with morality? What's important to you? Is it something that's in your heart, or is it something that's programmed for you? Are you programmed to believe you must wear a mask? Why? Is it good to breathe in your own exhale? Is that good for you? You have to decide. Is it good for you to stay home and stay out of sunlight? You have to decide. Is it good for you to not have social interaction? That's up to you to decide. No one gets to decide these things for you. Nobody gets to decide them for me but me. No one gets to decide them except you for you. But at some point, then the next trigger is riots, and boom, everybody's rioting. And then you start seeing bricks being left on the side of the road, and you realize people are being programmed and encouraged to do this sort of thing. Why? Then we hear Black Lives Matter. There's enough, without even going into Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. And what do you do when you have a person who has a black and a white parent? What you making them decide which part of them matters more than the other? That's like saying women are more important than men. It's not the case. All it does is creates more imbalances. Who's to say that the only colors out there are black and white? When I look at all the hands joining black hands and white hands, most of those memes are male hands. Does that mean women know better? You know, like we have to decide if we're going to get off this hamster wheel of stupidity and decide for ourselves what matters. There's so many programs running that bring on pain and suffering for people. It doesn't matter if it's abuse, it doesn't matter if it's warmongering, it doesn't matter if it's poverty, it doesn't matter if it's senseless killing, it doesn't matter if it's human trafficking, it doesn't matter if raping the planet. This is intentional to keep us in our worst possible sense of self-respect and morality. And the only person who can get us out of that is us. And when we pull away from understanding the insanity around us to do this, this is what I suggest to people. There's only 2 relationships that you are responsible for when you are on this planet in the spiritual sense. And that is your relationship with yourself. Do you respect yourself enough that you don't take a knee for anybody? Do you respect others enough that they shouldn't take a knee? You wouldn't ask them to take a knee for you. And if you think this is a harsh statement, imagine being in an intimate relationship and your partner didn't do the dishes last night when you asked them to, and saying, honey, you need to take a knee for me. How long would that relationship last? Whether it's the male or female energy, doesn't matter. If it's absolutely retarded concept inside an intimate relationship, it's probably a retarded concept in the masses. But people don't know how to pull themselves away to discern for themselves how to prioritize what's right for them. So it's almost like everybody, they just get told what their cause is, what their trigger is, and off they go to the races. There's a difference between values and causes. A value might be you value truth, you value love, you value compassion, you value helping the less fortunate, you may value helping the animal kingdom, you may value helping the planet. But when you start prioritizing and saying which lives matter, or this child matters and this child doesn't matter, or this person matters and this person doesn't matter, that would probably imply that you've got some narcissistic tendencies, because that sounds an awful lot like God complex. Nobody wants to think they're out of line or crossing the line of what's their right, but too often people are just giving out rote answers and they're not thinking about what they're doing. So if you're contributing to some of the chaos out there, or you're telling people they're privileged because you just read it in a book, maybe you need to dig a little deeper and ask why you need to have these held beliefs about who has more value than somebody else. Because when we value people over process, that's how hierarchies start. When we value movie stars over the average person, that's how hierarchies start. When we value politicians over the average person, that can be how hierarchies start. When we value the teachers in the classroom over the student, that's how hierarchies start. And if we are going to be the change from the old patriarchal energy of these hierarchies that inspire abuse of power, whether it's corruption, money, sex, whatever it is, or we are going to create a collaborative where we all work together, then we have to understand it's the people that matter, and it's all of us. We have to understand we are the common force who's going to be the change, but we all matter. We all might have different roles to play, different jobs to fulfill, but we're all the same. I'm even watching with spiritual egos right now that people, it doesn't matter if it's truth movement, if it's health movement, if it's, I don't know, wherever else, it's whatever the topic is, that people are starting to, they're starting to pick at each other and say, well, this person didn't say, he said something wrong, so everything he said is wrong. That's just spiritual ego in the 3D form, thinking we're better than somebody else. There's nobody who's more better in the truth movement. If you're part of the movement who wants to be the change, congratulations. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter what your role is. Doesn't matter if it's this big, this big. It doesn't matter. You're still doing it for the right cause. And you might be here to hold the space of internal energy that can hold a space of a town, a community, even a larger space, but you're not going to be out front and center. It doesn't mean that your contribution isn't powerful and helpful as well. So it's important for all of us to know this, that the old way needs to stop. I posted a meme recently. You can't have what I've got. It's not yours. And I don't want what you have because it's not mine. But I respect the fact it's yours and you have the right to have it, providing it didn't come at a cost to anyone else. And respect the right that I have the right to have what I have, providing it didn't come at a cost to anybody else. And this is going to be the way out of the spiritual 3D ego mold as we're still trying to climb up into our higher abilities and understand that we're all here to be the change. But there's nobody better than another. I don't care what you do. I don't care what I do. It doesn't matter. If you found your niche and you know what you're good at and you think it's going to make a contribution, do it. Do it with pride. Do it with fun, like the sense of fun and joy in your life, and know that you're making a difference. That's going to be the change. But don't let other people tell you what your priorities need to be. Don't let anyone else tell you when you need to take a knee. That's just insane. And we wonder why, who would you take a knee for? Who would you take a knee for? And your answer should be your connection to God, and it should be 2 knees if that's what you're doing in prayer. But you don't take a knee and give up your sovereignty for anybody. That's anti-human. That's degrading at the highest level, which goes back to the demeaning of ourselves. You can care about people, you can acknowledge when atrocities happen that they shouldn't, but one atrocity doesn't have more precedence than another atrocity. So I hope this helps people who are looking to find their footing to trust themselves. Don't trust anybody else. You can take information from any source. I might be right about some things, I might be wrong about some things. I might be right for some things for me and some people, but it might not apply to you. Don't take it personally and just say, I'm not sure about that. But that doesn't discount everything I say. And discernment is going to play such a big role moving forward as more insanity marches out in the next 5 months, because we have to get to November at least. But as more and more insanity marches out, what are you willing to do to hold your own sovereignty? And what are you willing to do to step into somebody else's space where you don't belong? You don't have the right to inject anybody. You don't have the right to tell anybody with anything, not just medical equipment, anything. You don't have the right to tell anybody what they think, feel, or need to respond, or how they should act. If they're committing a criminal act or hurting somebody, that's different. But if it's not, you don't have the right to tell somebody that they don't matter because they don't agree with you. It doesn't matter who it is. Trust your sovereignty. This is about building your spiritual muscle, your own emotional muscle, learning to trust you. Because the most important person we have in this conversation, I hope it's you, for you, that you are more valuable here. And for me, it's I'm more valuable here. We love differently. You love your people around you. I love mine, but it's different. We all have equal value. If we're going to build a system that works for everybody, it has to work for everybody, not just the ones that we choose. And as we watch the patriarchy fall and crumble and fall aside, we get a chance to rebuild the new. So it's kind of like we've got a step in 2 camps, one in the past and one in the future, and we're trying to figure this out and manifest it in the present. So I hope this is helpful to those who are looking to find their way and are just getting tired of other people's information or other people's opinions, or people not speaking to them because they don't like what they think. You might lose some friends over it, you might lose some family over it, but you've got to decide if you're aligned to your truth is more important to you. I'm of the opinion that over time this is going to work out and people are going to start coming more to their senses, and maybe they'll come back in your life and maybe they'll forgive you or not, I don't know, or just pretend it didn't happen, but they'll try to open up and say, okay, I'm interested now in hearing what you have to say. And if they don't, let them be there. It's not your job. You're not God. You don't get to tell anybody when it's their time. And I have to watch. I'm guilty of that sometimes, because sometimes people say things to me and I'm like, I don't always bite my tongue, but I try. I really do, because it's not my place to wake them up. That's their place. So I hope you find this video helpful. If you care to, I'm on Sandy Glaze on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to my emails. I'm not sending them out as videos. I'm not sending them out as regularly as I want to, but when I do, I hope I'm giving the right information that people need at the time. If you have any questions, you can email me, sandy@endinggloballoneliness.com. I wrote a book and published a book, Ending Global Loneliness, Finding Purpose, Love, and Dynamic Relationships. The feedback I get from this book is I don't tell anybody what to do, and I don't want to. I'm not your babysitter, not your mother. I don't want the job of telling you what it means to be a good human. But what it does, it asks you the right questions. So as you start to internalize them, you go back into embodying, which is what we were meant to do, and you start triggering the natural process of trusting yourself. I also offer a 30-minute complimentary coaching call if you want to just, bounce some ideas off me and say, hey, this is happening. What do I do? Where do I go next? I'll be able to help you with that. So you can reach me at sandy@endinggloballoneliness.com, and we're in this together, whether we like it or not. So let's have fun, help each other out, grow, see the pitfalls and stop falling in them, and help create a beautiful world for all of us to live in. That's what we're here for. That's my opinion, what we're here for anyways. So take good care, and we'll see you next time, okay? Bye-bye for now.